Some videos are meant to teach you something. Others are meant to let you know you're not alone. This one is both. Today, we're talking about what depression really is, not just how it feels, but what it does to the brain, the body, and the spirit. We'll explore how trauma, isolation, and emotional suppression can change your thinking, change your chemistry, and eventually change your life. We'll talk about how medication works, not just what it does, but why it's prescribed, what it's made of, and the risks involved. We'll talk about therapy, coping tools, and even what happens when someone hits rock bottom. And most importantly, we'll walk alongside the real story of someone who lived through all of it, someone who spiraled down and still found a way to get back up. If you've ever felt like you're losing your mind or like the world is losing its meaning, this is for you. Some individuals find themselves in a place where the world feels heavy and every step forward seems like a monumental effort. They might describe it as being caught in a spiral where each day blurs into the next and the motivation to engage with life disappears. It often starts small. For some people, it's just one disappointment too many. Maybe a breakup, maybe a betrayal. Maybe they just burned out trying to hold a job that didn't care whether they lived or died. Some tried to replace that pain with distractions, workaholism, substances, or even forced positivity. One individual recalled driving 12 hours straight just to feel useful. Another went on a road trip with a radiator that blew up in the middle of nowhere, barely making it through a winter fire. In both cases, underneath the surface was something deeper: unresolved childhood trauma and a mind screaming for rest. In such moments, the brain's anterior cingulate cortex, a region involved in emotion regulation and decision-making, can show reduced activity. This part of the brain helps us recognize emotional patterns and assess the importance of events. When it's not functioning properly, people can struggle to make decisions and process feelings. That's when sadness becomes something deeper, something clinical. Psychologically, this state is defined by persistent negative thoughts and a powerful sense of hopelessness. According to cognitive psychology, the brain starts to favor certain interpretations, usually the darkest ones. It expects rejection. It assumes failure. It prepares for abandonment. This pattern, called cognitive distortion, turns everyday challenges into emotional avalanches. To the outside world, the person might just seem lazy or disconnected, but inside, their thoughts are spiraling. One minute they're angry, the next numb. And in worst cases, the person begins to dissociate, like watching their own life from outside their body.
Since my colleague is lazy and doesn't want to continue, I'll take it from here. From a neurological standpoint, long-term emotional suppression or trauma can overstimulate the amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for fear and threat detection. When this happens, the body is kept in a state of hypervigilance. Even when there's no real danger, sleep gets disrupted, appetite fades, short-term memory suffers. Over time, the brain actually restructures itself in response to these stress signals. For many people, medication becomes part of the recovery process. SSRI, or selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, are one of the most commonly prescribed types of antidepressants. They work by increasing serotonin availability in the brain, a neurotransmitter linked to mood, sleep, and emotion. Chemically, SSRI inhibit the reabsorption of serotonin back into the neuron that released it. That means more serotonin remains in the synaptic gap, helping nerve cells communicate more effectively. Some examples include fluoxetine, Prozac, and sertraline, Zoloft. But like all medications, SSRI come with risks. Side effects can include nausea, weight gain, insomnia, fatigue, anxiety, sexual dysfunction, and more rarely, serotonin syndrome, a potentially life-threatening condition caused by too much serotonin. It's critical that individuals don't self-diagnose or adjust their dosage without medical supervision. These are powerful tools, not fixes, and should always be paired with psychological support. That's where therapy comes in. Cognitive behavioral therapy (CBT) helps people identify thought distortions, challenge them, and replace them with healthier ones. A therapist might teach someone how to pause before reacting or how to separate self-worth from performance. And in some cases, therapy becomes a lifeline. One person said they didn't even know they were depressed until they sat down in front of a therapist and started crying for no reason. They had just spent years trying to outwork the pain, outsmoke the silence, and outdrive the loneliness, and it wasn't until they were finally stilled that it all came crashing in. Social support matters too. Whether it's one close friend or an online support group, the power of being seen cannot be overstated. Humans are wired for connection. Without it, the nervous system malfunctions. One individual said their worst moment came when they were standing in a cold park, realizing they had nowhere to go. They were sleeping in a car, showering at truck stops, estranged from their family, and almost completely disconnected from who they used to be. But even then, they found one sliver of light enough to write, to cry, to pray, and eventually to rebuild.
Since my friend doesn't know how to finish what he started, I'll finish it from here. Depression is not a weakness. It's not a lack of effort. It's a complex interplay of trauma, biology, behavior, and environment. And the most dangerous part of it is not feeling sad, it's feeling nothing at all. That's when people stop reaching out. That's when the silence grows teeth. But recovery is real. It starts small, getting out of bed, answering one text, drinking a glass of water. It builds slowly through honest conversations, safe spaces, proper treatment, and time. It's never linear. There will be setbacks, relapses, questions, but also resilience. For those who've made it through, their stories become bridges. Proof that healing is possible. Proof that the spiral can end. Understanding depression from the neurological to the personal is how we start to change the conversation. We stop asking, "What's wrong with you?" and start asking, "What happened to you?" And that's where healing begins. Follow me, and I'll help you get up. With love.